Hey friends, welcome to part 2 of the 5-part video series that I'm doing on the writing process. If you missed last week's video, it is linked below, all about pre-writing. But today we're going to be diving right into drafting. A lot of people's favorite part of the process, actually getting the words in your mind, in all your pre-written preparations onto the page. And so with drafting, the ultimate thing to remember is that you want to get your whole story from start to finish out on the page. For some people, like for me, when I was working on my debut fiction book, I wrote pretty much the whole draft during the month of November for National Novel Writing Month. So I think I wrote like 60,000 words in a month, which is a lot. But for me, if I didn't have that like hard and fast deadline, for National Novel Writing Month, it's write 50,000 words in a month. So if I didn't have that, I think it would have taken me a lot longer. But again, the timeline's totally up to you. You can just sit down and write when you're able to. You don't maybe have a hard and fast deadline, and it might take you, months, years to get the draft down. But if that doesn't bother you, then that's one approach. You could also set daily word count or time limits, meaning, for example, I'm gonna write Monday through Friday for an hour every single day, and I'm gonna write from 8 to 9 in the morning, or I'm gonna write from 10 to 11 at night. Or you could say, I'm just gonna sit down and I'm not gonna get back up again until I've written 1,000 words today or 500 words today. So, and you just, you keep track of your word counts and you write that way. Those are 2 great ways to keep yourself on track with drafting, because honestly, the hardest part is finishing. That's why in the pre-writing stage of the writing process, it's so important to at least have somewhat of a like a map or a plan of where your book is going. Otherwise, you might get super inspired by a scene or a chapter, but then partway through the story, it never gets finished because you run out of ideas or you run out of inspiration. And so having some sort of an outline, some sort of like a step-by-step plan is a really good idea, just so that you actually finish that draft. Now, when you're drafting your book, what's most important is getting the words on the page, as I mentioned. It's not about stopping every 5 words to fix a grammar error or find the exact perfect word for that sentence. It's about finishing the story. So that sometimes looks like me writing like in all caps, I need to rewrite this scene, or I need to flesh out this character, or I need to research this plot point more. But that doesn't stop me from finishing the book. So you could have notes and highlights and cross-outs. You could, your actual manuscript could look really terrible, but as long as you have like a start, a middle, and an end, and you get through the story, then you've done well in the drafting process. Because at this point, it's just about having something to work with, right? You can't work with a blank screen with no words on it. And so, as hard as it can be, try not to get too caught up in changing things around, correcting, fixing things, especially if it takes you a few months or a few weeks to get that first draft done. It could be really tempting to go back to the start of your story if you're, say, halfway through and like fix something. But I would say try to avoid that. Just try to get the story like out on the paper, and then it is later in the writing process, specifically in the revising and editing stage, where you're actually gonna sit down and put on your critique spectacles and work on fixing the manuscript. So that's why I can actually draft my stories now pretty quickly, because what takes so much time is moving everything around and fixing everything and rewriting scenes. But if you're literally just getting words on the page, that can be done so much faster if you don't actually care that much about the quality of the story. You just have that idea, you have the map, you have the plan, you know where you're starting in the middle and the end, and you're just writing it. And then you can sit back and you can breathe a sigh of relief, and you can step away from the manuscript. Everybody always recommends that, right? When you finish a draft, you should always close your computer and take a break for at least a week. Sometimes people take a break as much of a month to just get that mental distance from the story, so that when you come back, you can start in fresh with revisions, which is step 3 in the writing process. So with drafting, it can also be really helpful. A lot of people like to do like writing sprints. So maybe if you know like other friends online who are also drafting, you can coordinate with them a time where you both are like, okay, we're gonna both sit down for the next 30 minutes and we're gonna write. And you might be in different parts of the country or world, but you both commit to that, and so you can help keep each other accountable, which is really great to have like a writing buddy or a friend that you're both of you are drafting your own stories together and having those like times of writing sprints, or like putting on a playlist. Or if you're someone who likes to listen to music, I have a writing playlist that I'll listen to. I have like the upbeat, fast-paced songs for like action scenes, and like the slower songs for more serious scenes. I also like to have a dedicated writing space, so I usually don't have my phone with me, so I don't get distracted by that. I don't have any other windows up on my computer. I just have my Word doc up when I'm writing. I try to have the door closed. I try to have like a clean work desk, workspace, and I try to really be consistent with my commitment to either my word count or the amount of time I'm going to write, because some people might think the hard part is revising, and I would agree with that, but I also think just as hard is actually writing that story, because a lot of people, we have like great ambitions and ideas, but actually seeing it through from start to finish is what can be a challenge. So those are my tips for you if you are in the drafting stage. Don't give up, persevere through, and you'll be so proud of yourself when you finally get that, 50,000, 80,000, 100,000 words down, and you can have the end on your story, and be able to let it sit and then move into the nitty-gritty of revising, which is what we're going to be talking about next week. So I hope this video was helpful. Give it a like, subscribe if you're not already following this channel, and I'll see you next week. Take care.